Today is a very exciting review. I've actually got access to a 2018 Cadillac XTS. This Cadillac is going to be the base trim, but it has the 3.6 liter V6 engine. As everybody knows, Cadillac always tries to redefine the luxury line of cars. The marketing of their cars are typically boats that just ride really well. They have the best ride quality in the luxury industry, with the exception of the CTS-V, I'm sure, and the ATS-V line, or their V Sport line. This is a car that I'm really looking forward to reviewing because I've actually never been in a Cadillac before. I have no idea what to expect, and I really have no idea how nice it will be or will not be. First things first, when you sit down in the seats in this car, they are really comfortable. They're really supportive. They have a lot of different selections on how you can get back support. They have the lumbar support option, and they're automatic seats or electronic seats. So they have the levers. I also believe they have different modes that you can select, so you can set a preset for one driver and a preset for another driver. The seats don't have a lot of bolstering. Obviously this isn't going to be a sports car, so they don't have to hug you as much, but they do have that really good comfort factor. The headrests are also really soft, which is a big thing for me. I always need a headrest because my head sits up so high. So the steering wheel in this car is going to be leather wrapped, and it is really nice. It's good for luxury. It feels good. It feels soft. The controls laid out on it are pretty well simplified. You got your cruise control on the left, and then you have your heads-up display menu options, and you also have your center screen options on the right side of the steering wheel. This car is a 6-speed shiftable automatic, so you have paddle shifters on the back. Now the gauges in the Cadillac, they are luxurious. They look really good. They have a really nice black and white theme. It's really modern with the times. Continuing with the gauges on the instrument cluster, they actually have a little setup of information right below the speedometer. It's broken up into 3 parts, and on the far left side, you can scroll through it on your steering wheel, and it'll show you information like your tire pressure, or like your, it'll show you information like your battery voltage, oil life, tire pressure, etc. If you scroll to the middle, you end up getting just an options page you'll never probably use, instantaneous fuel mileage, and a digital speedometer. The right half is the same as the left half. You can just show one extra parameter. Now if we go over to the center screen, there's a lot you can do over here. First, they have the navigation. It's just like any other GPS. You enter any address, it'll take you there. You've got climate control options on the screen. This is dual zone climate control, so each occupant can choose their temperature and it'll adjust each side. And then they actually have this user configuration menu. I think that's something you can set as presets for every different driver in the car. If you go into your settings, you'll find the option for the Wi-Fi networks where you can get a Wi-Fi hotspot started. And this car has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And that's really neat because what these do is they emulate your phone screen onto this main touch screen, and it keeps you hands-free from having to use your apps. This supports Google Maps and your contacts and your iMessages, all that good stuff. If we come down below the center screen, we have another set of options for your climate controls. This is just going to be simple capacitive touch push buttons to control all that. It'll show on your screen if you have the climate control screen open real time what the changes are. This car is also optioned with heated seats and cooled seats, which is really neat because cooled seats are a lot more modern, where they actually have cold air blowing through the seat for hot days. And of course, one of my favorite quirks about this car is the glove box. First thing I did when I got in on the passenger side was try to figure out how to open this thing. I couldn't believe it. There wasn't a little handle, nothing. But if you look over right next to the center screen, there's a little button that says glove box. And when you hit it, pops right open. Kind of pointless in my opinion, but it's something. It's technology, I suppose. We look over at the center console here. It's pretty good. It goes fairly deep. It'll hold just about anything you need it to, and it actually has USB and a 12-volt charging outlet for you if you need that. I believe the USB is probably where it's going to interface with the screen. Wrapping up on the interior, the back seats, I forgot to mention, they also have dual heated seats back there. So in the wintertime, your passengers are going to be very cozy hanging out back there. All right, with the interior covered, it's time to start it up and let's go for a drive. Should be. So we're setting off in the 2018 Cadillac XTS. This is going to be my initial impression before I've ever sat in the car. We're setting off, and the first thing that comes to mind is this thing feels like an absolute boat. It does feel respectively planted to the ground, but definitely not stiff like a sports car. I'll know more when I speed up a little bit though. The engine's really quiet. The interior is definitely really quiet in here also. There's not a lot of road noise, and like I said, you really don't hear much of the engine or transmission. So now I'm turning onto a main road, and now I'll get real impressions at a more regular speed as opposed to just neighborhood speeds. That sounds weird. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Wow. So this car's making some kind of a really weird noise. I can't really describe it. It's like a humming buzz when you're up at 50 miles an hour. Might just be a quirk. We'll have to see. So that is actually going to be the tires we determined. So I guess when I said the road noise is quiet at lower speeds, that's true, but when you get up higher, these tires seem to make a little bit of a humming noise. And probably nothing to make it go crazy, but that is a little odd for a luxury car. The car feels really well composed. You can tell there was a lot of thought into the design of the suspension. It doesn't roll much around turns, and like I said before, it feels really planted on the road. You don't feel bumps, which is typical of a Cadillac, you'd hope in a Cadillac. And the ride is very smooth. It feels more like you're gliding down the road than you are just rolling. Steering weight of the car is very light feeling, which is good. The car's really easy to turn even though it's so heavy. Kind of gives it a nimble feel. It's not the most responsive in the world. I wouldn't say like you point it at darts, but it's definitely not heavy to steer. The power steering does a good job. Time to go over some railroad tracks. Let's see how the suspension handles this. And I didn't really feel a thing. That was really impressive. So this is a car that anybody's really going to get excited to drive because it's a Cadillac. The sticker price of these comes in at about $45,000, which is pretty steep, so you'd expect to get a lot out of it. We're going down some more country back road-ish type of roads. We'll get to see how it handles. I don't expect it to be like a sports car because it's a luxury car. It's really meant to be smooth for highway drives, but we'll see. At the $45,000 sticker price, the ride quality that you get with this car, it's close to worth it. This thing rides a lot better than any car I've been in. It'll make for a good road trip. The downside to the $45 price is that you don't actually get all-wheel drive in the car. This car is front-wheel drive, which is always fine. It's not like people need all-wheel drive unless they're constantly on the highway in the winter, or if they have a specific need for it. But for the price, I mean, you can get any other luxury car just about with all-wheel drive for less than $45,000. After cruising down these back roads for a little bit, the handling is pretty good, actually. I've been impressed with the way that it rides. It's similar to a German car where it'll have the sport luxury type of ride where it's not too stiff and not too soft where it feels like you're rolling all over the place. It can hold its own pretty well down a back road. I can't knock it on that. Part of its success is definitely contributed to its 19-inch wheels and the really low profile tires that go with it. That might be where the tire noise is coming from, is those low profile tires. You don't hear any wind noise, but you get a lot from the tires, which I think if you just upgraded your tires or got a different pair or a different set, that would correct the problem, but that would be your call. So a little acceleration in the Cadillac. Here we go. was kind of underwhelming, I have to admit. This car has a 3.6 liter V6 engine with a little over 300 horsepower. Of course, that's mated to the 6-speed automatic, and I just punched it downhill, and it wasn't very fast. It wasn't really fast at all, actually. The red line is 7,000 RPM, so the engine sound did get pretty vicious. It was cool, but I didn't feel any punch back into my chair. Nothing about that was very thrilling. I think it's adequate power for the highway and more than enough for daily driving. It's definitely not going to be a thrill ride like the CTS-V or the CTS would. The 3.6 engine option is the base engine. They also have another 6-cylinder, I believe turbocharged, and it's about 400 horsepower, so I bet that one would be a whole lot more fun. This naturally aspirated is lacking in torque. It's only about 260 pound-feet, which for $45,000, the new Honda V6 almost beats that. So we're heading up to a highway merging ramp. I'm going to give the acceleration one more try from a little bit lower speed. This is going to be a long ramp, so let's see how we do here. Man, it revs so slow. It doesn't, yeah, it's really not that fast. I have to be honest. It'll get you onto the highway really well, and I guarantee it'll be good for merging and also passing. But if you're looking for a luxury car that's going to be a lot of fun, if you want to get on the pedal, this is probably not the right one for you. This is going to suit anybody that wants a nice ride, a very smooth and quiet ride that gets pretty decent gas mileage. So my final thoughts on this car, it is really nice, and don't get me wrong, I know I was unthrilled about the power, but the quality of this car, it's got good seats, comfortable steering wheel, a really smooth drive. I mean, this is probably an unmatched amount of smoothness. Any imperfection, it still feels like you're flat. I mean, you got that Mercedes Magic body control commercial. This is pretty much the equivalent in a Cadillac. Nothing feels like a bump. I think this car is going to best suit you if you're looking for maybe a really comfortable commuting car, something to get around town, mostly A to B and very high luxury. There is a lot of room in here, so it would make good for a family car if you want to have comfortable road trips with your family, or comfortable drives anywhere with your family at that. Thank you guys for sticking around and watching the video. Subscribe for future content. I'm going to try to get more cars in the future and kind of give you my thoughts on them. Hopefully I can get some that fit more of an enthusiast level as well. And with that, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'm out.